Today's episode of the Wonderful World of Marketing, we're going to see dinosaur versus Chewbacca fights for like 15-20 minutes. Then, for a second or two, we'll also talk about the evolution of modern marketing and, AI and machine learning and how that's going to affect the future of marketing. Hey, welcome back to the Wonderful World of Marketing. As you can see, it is still Back to the Future Day here, which is super cool. I'm just going to get my jacket to do itself up here. So welcome. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of modern marketing. And the question I often hear is, how am I doing? Am I ahead? Am I behind? Am I making the right investments? I just don't know. So what I wanted to do is create a quick model for you, which is what I think sort of the three stages of the sort of marketing evolution are. And the one you see right now, this first one is, we'll call it early stage. This is an email sort of prominent type of campaign. You've got sales automation, content marketing, and customer service software. I'd say almost everybody in marketing is now kind of conquered sort of these four pillars and are feeling pretty comfortable in that space. In this area of content marketing, 70% of companies and CMOs say they're going to be doing more of it in 2017. Although interestingly, readership is actually down by about 17%. So we should be careful. We may be oversaturating the market in content marketing, but clearly it's a motion that's important. Now the next stage is where I think I am and a lot of other companies are moving towards, which is a more mature stage. This is where social prominence leads the way. We run a social command center with about 120 people in it across all of our brands, and that is an important way that we get customer insight and customer issues into the company, and then we sort of circle around those customer issues and use those as the centerpiece of how we interact. But also things like account-based marketing, real-time personalization, and predictive analytics start to play more of a role in this stage. If you're in this stage, congratulations. You're a very modern marketer, and this is where a lot of the innovation is going to come from for the next stage, the future. A lot of us can say that we're experimenting here. A lot of us are investing here, and a lot of us are excited about this space, but no one can say they've nailed the future. And I'm excited about where we're going. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. But the impact of AI and machine learning on marketing is going to be extraordinary. One thing that's kind of an interesting sort of tidbit about marketing is that the marketing GDP, so in terms of how the industry spends its money, is quite unusual versus the global GDP. So global GDP, about 20% of global GDP is in labor, about 5% is in IT, and about 60% is in cost of goods sold. In marketing, it's quite different. About 20% of marketing, which is a $2.5 trillion business, about 20% of marketing is in IT, so much higher than normal global GDP. That reflects, I think, the early stage we're at, and the fact that we have so many point solutions. We're actually spending more money on IT than we should be. The second thing, which is kind of important but sort of obvious, is media. Media is about 20 to 25% of that $2.5 trillion. The big number is labor. 51% of that $2.5 trillion marketing spend is in labor. So an opportunity for us as an industry is to replace a lot of the humans with machine learning and AI that can provide the sort of predictive intelligence and the sort of decision-making capability that right now is being handled in a very inefficient way by humans. I'm excited about that. I think it could make marketing a much more science-based and sort of practical art, and give us as CMOs more levers to pull that we can control. So this is a pretty typical marketing automation journey. It's quite artificial, very rigid, and very complex. And if you've ever actually programmed a marketing automation journey, and if you haven't, you must. Okay, you got to get your hands dirty in this business. It's like you can't be a heart surgeon and not do heart surgeries. Now, you've got to get your hands dirty in marketing. If you want to be a professional in this space, you got to do marketing. Even if you do it on the side for yourself or for a friend or consult, got to get in there and actually do it. And so when you build one of these journeys, what happens is that the number of branching alternatives quickly blows out of proportion. And the amount of sort of space you have available, even if you have an unlimited virtual landscape, is bigger than the human imagination. So you start to scope it down and you create a journey that you know in your heart is artificial. And so the automation piece, while a big improvement on what we were doing before, which was nothing, is really not sufficient for where we need to go. So where do we need to go? And this sort of diagram you're looking at here is this concept of marketing AI. And there's two really important ideas in here. The first idea is that, these are obviously a bunch of sort of Microsoft-oriented interactions, but the other weakness of marketing AI is it's looking just at marketing interventions to the customer. But the customer has a much more complex relationship with the company than just marketing relationships. The customer may be a stockholder. The customer may use other products. The customer may have gone through sales experiences. They may have purchased our products. Like all this other stuff needs to be considered in the total customer profile. And so I've got to understand the total view of the customer to be able to know how to treat that customer in an effective way. And so this concept of marketing AI, taking all the touch points and bringing that together, I think is critical to the future of marketing. And what we like to call this is we like to call it the interaction cloud. So the interaction cloud is, how do we create purchase intent by all the brand interactions, and how do we determine what the next logical action is with a customer? And that to me is incredibly exciting, and that's where we're heading. And all of this is impossible until you have a common customer ID. And not just a common customer ID for marketing. It has to be a common customer ID for the whole company. So research, sales, marketing, customer care, they all have to be looking at the same customer, and all of that customer's interactions have to be part of the total record. Think about your own company. That's a revolutionary idea. Everyone thinks of these things still in silos. So the implication is not just that we need to transform marketing. The implication is we need to transform our organizations in total, so that if you're in research, you're also in marketing. And if you're in marketing, you're also in customer care. And if you're in customer care, you're also in research. Everybody is working towards helping the customer and helping the customer be successful. There is a model for this. It's a pretty old one. I don't know if you've been to Disneyland, but Disneyland's been around a long time. And they opened Disneyland in 1955. If you walk in Disneyland and there's a piece of garbage on the ground, you might see someone in management clothes, wearing a suit, carrying a clipboard or something. They don't walk by the piece of garbage because that's the garbage department. They pick it up and they put it away. If there's a lost child and the garbage person is walking by, the garbage person doesn't walk by the lost child who's crying because that's the lost child department. They help that child get reconnected with his or her parents. And it's everybody in the park is centered around creating a magical experience for their guests, no matter what their role. Now they do have specific roles, but there is a guest-centric model to the way that they operate. And I would argue that the guest-centric model of Disneyland is the way that we all need to operate in the future. But think about how that changes everything that you do in the systems that we're building. It's pretty exciting, but it's going to take us a good decade before we can really pull it off. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the next episode, but that's all for today. Having probably fully blown your mind, that's it for The Wonderful World of Marketing. See you next time. Hey, you, subscribe to my YouTube channel now.